I think it's time to talk about the current situation with the administration. Right now, what's the executive department, the congressional department, the state senates, senators, representatives, and even the secretary, the Supreme Court of the United States. Before I begin to touch on the specifics of what's currently going on, I actually want to talk about what really is going on. Since the current election of President Trump, there have been certain executive actions that have taken place that have actually started to strip a lot of people who are legally here or seeking asylum or are being targeted very, very generously. I will say it like that, because that's actually what this administration is trying to do. It's targeting. And eventually it's going to come down to the point where it's no longer just going to be the people of my complexion, darker complexion, Black, African American, Native Americans, people from Asia, Central Asia, all parts of the world, even to the point where Canadians have actually been held up at the border. There have been student activist protests, peaceful protests, that have been taken into detention centers, have had their visas revoked and their legal status technically remanded by the Department of Homeland Security. And I don't want to say without due cause, but without a precedence of what their supposed crimes have been. Since the start of this administration, people have been disappearing. There have been thousands of immigrants being deported. There have been thousands of people that have been targeted. There have been peaceful protests, not only from regular civilians, but also veterans, to be able to reinstate certain programs and organizations that have helped out not only the low-income communities, but what would be considered themselves every single day Americans. The irony of the situation is that a lot of these protests, a lot of this outcry is now coming from the same people that voted for this administration. People who were out there rocking the MAGA hat, Latinos for Trump, Black men for Trump, Black women for Trump. The entire Republican Party or Republican affiliated personnel are out there as well in droves, seeing the consequences. People will call this the fuck around and find out situation. It's a lot more dire than that in reality if you think about it. But this is where we currently are in the administration and everything that's kind of happening at the behest of executive orders, defilement of laws and constitutional establishments, the dismantling of specific programs to be able to help all and any individuals, the firing of VA employees to be able to help veterans, the dismantling of the Office of Personnel Management, the continued attempt dismantling of the Office of Personnel Management, just the current attack on the infrastructure that is, whether political or apolitical, whatever you want to say it and however you want to put it, that's where we currently are right now. So the reason why I am bringing this up in this situation is because I'm openly saying this, not only to anybody who wants to listen, but just in general, because it has to be said and it has to be acknowledged and it has to be taken into account. Before I go and say anything specific, these are my own personal thoughts. I am an active duty member of the military, and my opinions do not reflect the opinions or the alignment of the Department of Defense or the United States Navy or any military personnel. These are all individual thoughts, processes, and things that I have said and will say by my own behest and to no influence from any other outside bodies. So as I continue with this, I can exactly say that it is a very dire situation that we are in, that now you have the opposing parties and opposing situations with people somewhat coming together, not in full, but somewhat coming together to be able to see the entire damage that is being right now inflicted upon all sorts of Americans. Legally documented Americans, U.S. citizens, Native Americans, natural-born citizens, naturalized citizens, people who are here legally, but as well as undocumented people who are out here seeking asylum. It's a difficult situation because these people, these individuals that have taken the acts, taken their actions of speaking up against this administration and the harm that it's doing, are the ones being affected and being disappeared, being taken into custody without due process and without justification by a secret police, by masked individuals, by a federal mandate, supposed federal mandate. Said, I'm not going to lawyer it up because I'm not a lawyer. But I think there still has to be some sort of a due process within the constitutional standards to be able to allow to these people, these accused, to be heard and be taken in to give their side of the story, to be able to defend themselves in these accusations. And I say this very specifically because it is to really bring into attention that it's not just because of what's happening currently stateside. It's because of their protest against the Israeli lobby. It's because of the U.S.'s involvement in continued support of the Palestinian genocide. There is very little to be said about what's currently going on in the current conflict, the genocide in Gaza. And I am saying this directly with full understanding and true knowledge of what it could mean both for my career and for my outlook as an individual being in the military. But that's one thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget or tend to disassociate with when people join the military, is that we are still individuals. We are still citizens. We're still people who have thoughts, emotions, and opinions about what is currently going on. And this is my personal opinion. Conflict is conflict. The human nature is very disruptive, and it's a very vile situation when you want to take and do what you need to do to be able to get what you want. And the fact that people are out here giving their opinions, showing their discontent with what this country is currently doing to other people, that is being live broadcast, is reprehensible. It's damning, and it's ridiculous that there have been more domestic situations, without getting into the very specific word. There have been very clear domestic situations in the United States right now that qualify for more due process and apprehension and conviction of these individuals that have attacked domestically. But yet they're not being sought out. They're not being taken on by any of the major news organizations. It's taken outside media and third-party journalists, third-party outlets to bring light to these situations, and still very little has been done. But yet a handful, and even more possibly, protesters and peaceful gatherings, people who are considered to be leaders or even threats to what's continued to be considered dissent, are the ones being apprehended and taken into custody. This is one of those situations where you can't stay quiet about, because it's going to be one of those things that is going to lead us into the worst situations out of anything that we could ever see in this part of the world. It's happened in the past. We tend to forget that. Anybody who has actually read into history, has looked into history with a blind eye, without a blind eye, and taken into account what it has taken to be able to get us into this current modern state of speech and constitutional rights, understands and knows the sacrifice and the risks that come with being opposed to what is currently status quo. And the fact that we're currently going up against in status quo, out of all of these advances that have already been revoked and been attempted to dismantle, it makes it even more difficult because we had made the progress. The progress had already been made. And I'll say this as openly as possible. I was an illegal immigrant. I was an undocumented immigrant for a good while, and I technically did it the right way. I gained my green card. I've served this country and have been continuing to serve this country and to become a U.S. citizen. And the supposed right way, there is no correct way or right way to be able to be here legally. Because what is being shown to us is the exact same situation that has been shown to us in the past. It doesn't matter if you do it the right way. It doesn't matter if you gather peacefully to be able to voice your opinions to try to make the change. It doesn't matter if you have a general criticism of certain actions being held abroad that you don't agree with, whether it's your country or you're in support of somebody else in that country. It doesn't matter if you have justification and true right and liberty to be able to defend yourself. As long as you fall within a certain standard of what is considered to be a different thought process, a different individual, or somebody who could be of consequential, I don't even want to say consequential, that could be a consequence to what you're trying to implement, you will be targeted. And regardless of that, people still continue to do that. Some people have continued to be able to do that. And I've taken some time. I've been on a hiatus trying to piece these thoughts together and trying to look at everything that's going on. Because not only is it affecting what is considered to be the status quo or these advancements in a society that we have put together, but it's affecting every single individual state now. The radicalism that's happening in every single institution in every single state is dumbfounding. It's becoming so critical that whatever institution, whatever government entity right now in your state is trying to demoralize and take everything outside of your own right. You're able to be stopped and frisked just simply for looking like me. Although I look very ambiguous, I can still be frisked and it won't be an issue. I have tattoos, and if at any moment I decide to go outside in any other part of the country and they see the tattoos and I don't have any of my papers, I will be stopped, I will be taken into custody, and I will possibly be deported as a U.S. citizen. Not for speaking out, not for committing domestic acts of dissent, not for openly advocating for death of certain individuals. No, simply for walking outside. Simply for looking a specific tone, and if I were to even speak my own language, it would even give more justification to be able to send me into whatever pitless death sentence cell that they're currently sending undocumented individuals, that they're currently sending outspoken critics of the administration and of APEC and of the GOP, of the Republican Party. I'm not going to call them the GOP. They are the Republican Party, just as the Democratic Party. There are two institutions that doesn't matter what it is. If you are just currently opposing whatever situation is happening, you're going to be targeted. And that's the most critical situation out of everything that's happening right now, is the fact that it's no longer becoming a problem being opposed to what's currently happening abroad. It's becoming a worse situation currently because of what's happening domestically. To the point where if at any situation were to happen, if any violence were to be committed against peaceful bodies, peaceful protesters, it will be outlined as something of a turning point for mass dissent and possibly necessity for military law. And that's the last thing that could happen, but more than anything may happen because of what's going on, because of people wanting to fight back against the system that's being imposed upon them. Not duly elected, not freely chosen, no, being imposed upon them. And that's where we currently are at right now. So, to keep it short and to keep it as direct as possible, I have my own personal thoughts and understand and see the current situation as an individual in the armed forces. My opinions are my own, and they're nobody else's. But the way that this current administration is handling a lot of the situation is not good. For anybody within any of the ethnic communities, and I do mean anybody ethnic, that voted for this current administration, and now we're seeing the consequences, I'm not going to go ahead and continue to tell you I told you so. The only thing I can tell you now and even explain to you is that the same people that you voted to be able to bring into office are the same people that are going to be trying to fight and take away the people that you love so dearly. That supposedly you did it for their benefit, that because they weren't going to be attacked. It's incorrect. A system doesn't discriminate. A system discriminates regardless of your personal thoughts. For protesters, peaceful assemblers, anybody currently outcrying against the current administration and opposing to a lot of these actions that are beginning to demolish the democratic system that we have supposedly built, that has supposedly worked in our favor, which we all know hasn't thoroughly worked in our favor, continue to speak out. I will continue to speak out in the small ways that I can, but I am there with you. Simply for the matter that because first off and foremost, at the end of the day, when I take off this uniform, take off whatever it is, banner that I am carrying around in defense of the people, my service will still be in defense of the people. For anybody else in the military that may be listening to this situation, that may be listening to me, remember, your oath was not to a commander-in-chief, specific commander-in-chief. Your oath was to the Constitution, to follow orders justifiably reasonable, and to be able to protect the people. Because ultimately that's what it is. You chose this to be able to protect the people. You have your own justifications, but at the end of the day, when you signed that contract, when you signed that dotted line and you rose your hand up, you rose that right hand up and affirmed the enlistment oath, the oath to become an officer of any of the 5 branches of the military, to include the Coast Guard, your affirmation was to protect the people. And these are your people, regardless of skin color, regardless of orientation, regardless of anybody coming from wherever they are, immigrants or naturally born, seeking asylum or undocumented, you are still here to protect people. Just don't forget that. And to anybody else that wants to hear or understands what this current situation is, this isn't the first time we've lived it. This is just the worst that it's gotten so far. And I feel like it's going to continue to get worse. But continue to come together, amass in numbers, and gather as many people as we can to be able to continue to be outspoken about what is currently happening. Because what is currently happening is just unjustifiable. Because today it's going to be those who speak out against certain acts. Tomorrow it's going to be those that are out walking on the street on an even day when it's an odd day. And the worst part is that we've seen it before. It's been there before. You've read about it before, and I don't have to reiterate it. I just need you to understand that that ended in a certain way for a very specific reason. And the fact that it's coming back, I want it to end in a very certain way for a very specific reason. And I mean that in the way to be able to protect the people that are actually loyal to what the liberties and the rights of what the Constitution stands for. So these are my current opinions on it. This is just a small voice in what's currently happening. And if I am correct, if I am incorrect in what I am saying, then I am incorrect in what I am saying. I will admit to that. But these are my thoughts and my own speculations, my own beliefs in what's currently happening.